Hello and welcome to the People of Payments podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Davies, founder of Sourcific Talent. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by the remarkable Jessica French, product manager at Vyne. Now, Vyne are an innovative open banking payment provider. Now, throughout Jessica's career, she's worked in a variety of environments from the corporate world of banking to unicorns and now startups. And as you can imagine, through this time, she has faced numerous challenges and celebrated many successes. In today's episode, we hope to delve into some of those experiences in greater detail, sharing valuable insights for those who might be encountering similar situations. Jess, thanks very much for joining us today. And how are things on your side?
Yeah, been great, right? Exciting times and excited to be here today.
Fantastic. Sounds good. All right, nice. Well, look, let's dive straight in. And the best place to start is always to get some insights on who you are. So who is Jess French? Tell us about your education, your career to date, and so on.
Yeah, sure. So going all the way back, right? So I completed a bachelor's degree with a double major in corporate finance and investment, as well as marketing. And following from that, I pursued a postgraduate honors degree in corporate finance investment, really aspiring to work at an investment bank or firm like that. Um, a little bit crazy, I think, but anyway, I then joined a graduate program at a bank, and I ended up in the merchant acquiring team as a product manager. So I started at Standard Bank. This is one of the oldest and largest banks in Africa, with about 56,000 employees. Um,
Just a few then.
exactly. So, unlike many other product managers who kind of discover product later on in their career, I was one of those fortunate few who started out their product manager career day one. And I think this really began the true love story between me, payments, and product management. So during my time at Standard Bank, I gained extensive experience and took on like more responsibility as the years went on, and I kind of moved up, owning the value added services across the merchants platforms, the banking apps, the external distribution channels, and subsequently I focused on enhancing the customer experience across the entire merchant acquiring value chain, really striving to understand and resolve those customer pain points. And then in late 2020, my husband and I relocated to London, a leading global tech hub. And yes, we were those crazy people who moved across the world during a pandemic. Um, but I was able to secure a role at checkout.com in the fin crime team. Here, I worked on building and maintaining scalable technology for financial crime detection and mitigation, and ensuring that this was effective for checkout as they expanded with new clients, with new products. So yeah, that was like a really exciting opportunity at a rapidly growing scale up. When I joined, there was less than 1,000 employees. Now
Okay.
I think way over that. So they were really making significant strides in the payment industry, and that's why it was exciting to work there. Fast forward a little bit, I was seeking a bit more of a direct or tangible impact on the end user. So I transitioned to Vyne. And as you said, Vyne is a startup in the open banking market, providing account to account payments. At Vyne, I maintain and enhance a family of products, including the core account to account payments platform and integrations, the consumer payment journey, the internal and external portals to be able to manage payments, users, and things like that, and the automated onboarding journey. So, really, a family of products. Um, as well as some exciting things on the horizon, so keep an eye out for that. That's really
Absolutely.
how I got where I am today.
Sounds amazing. And of course, you mentioned within that there was a time where you was, I believe, in South Africa. Is that right?
Yes.
You're based, then moved to the UK,
Yes.
um, and you kind of went from banking into payments. Was there a specific element that drew you into payments and to move away from that corporate world, or?
Well, I think from my career path, you can see that the payment industry has kind of always fascinated me due to the dynamic nature of it, as well as its crucial nature in the economy. So as a
Yep.
product manager, I was drawn to the unique challenges and opportunities within the sector where technology and customer experience really converge to create innovative solutions. So I think some of the key reasons why I said that that I would say I'm passionate about this, particularly or working as a product manager in the payments industry, is number one, the impact into like everyday life. So payments are an integral part of daily lives for individuals as well as businesses. So being part of an industry that facilitates that excites me, and I'm motivated by the opportunity to develop products that then simplify and enhance the way people move money, as well as the payment industry as the forefront of technology and right. So from mobile payments, digital currencies, blockchain, AI driven fraud, there's like a potential for innovation around every corner. So as a
Yep.
product manager, that's where you thrive, like embracing the cutting edge technology to look for how you can solve customers' problems. And then I think the the customer centric part. So a successful product manager needs to deeply understand the customer's needs and pain points. And in the payments industry, there's a wealth of opportunities to be able to do that and address these real world problems.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, right? Because I think so many people that I speak to, they kind of fall into this space, right? And that seems to be the industry norm. But actually, from your side, it seems to have been a very kind of decisive approach to get into this. Not even just from a career base, but even educationally, kind of setting up the foundation to be able to move into this market. So it's great to see your passion. It's very clear that you're passionate about this space, and I know we're going to dive into a little bit more of that in just a moment. But that you also mentioned in your introduction that the types of companies you worked in, right? So you went from the corporate banking world into a scale-up business at checkout, then into startups. And I guess what have you found being some of those major differences from a cultural perspective and an environment perspective that you've had to be able to adapt to fit working in those types of businesses?
Yeah, so a lot of people go the other way around, right? So starting a small company, moving to the large corporate, I did in reverse maybe. So, but I believe that every setting, or every size of, company that I worked at has then offered me a unique experience that I've been able to leverage and use along the way. So let's look at structure and process. We know that big old corporates love processes and love protocols. So that ensures their stability and consistency across so many employees of their business. Sometimes can slow things down. So slow down decisions, maybe slow down innovation due to so many layers that people have to go through. But there's a clear chain of command or like well-defined roles in large corporates, which maybe provide a sense of order or clarity on roles and responsibilities, where you could check out the unicorn, so we can go with that. The unicorn stage is more
Yeah.
like scalable processes. So they have something, but there's a bit more flexibility into it, and they try balance the structure with the need for innovation and being able to evolve quickly. And from a hierarchy point of view, the roles are a bit more fluid compared to large corporates. So employees need to take on multiple responsibilities. And then it ends up to become more of like a dynamic, contributing working environment where people are not really stuck in their boxes. And then going down
Yep.
another level, we have startups, right? And we know that they operate with minimal processes at first. They foster this high degree of flexibility and speed, and this environment encourages that rapid experimentation and iteration, which product managers love. Um,
Yep.
and the typical organizational structure is very flat, which promotes that open communication or those open lines of communication with the leadership team, being able to collaborate easier across different levels, I think. So that's the structure point of view. But then there's also the resources, and big corporate abundance of resources. They have the financial needs, they have maybe too many employees. So they have all the resources to provide support for any product projects or initiatives that you want to do. Where unicorns down a level, they still have substantial resources, but not at the same scale as the large corporates, obviously. But they are heavily
Yep.
investing in the growth and innovation space. So that is key for them. And then startups, we all know, limited resources, normally have
Yep.
to get creative with your solutions, where you do things, and the teams that you use. So it results in a necessary need to be lean in the approach on things. And employees are really required to get more hands on. So, a wide range of tasks that you'll need to take on. And they always say in the startup industry, you need to really have that entrepreneurial mindset. And then I think like the pace of work across the different organizations, a big corporate, steady pace, maybe a bit of a feature factory where you are just continuously building new things upon new things. That maybe, so it's a steady pace, but maybe a bit slow because
Yep.
the processes and things. But they always have that long term focus on projects that they may need to look at the long term with substantial planning and analytics before being able to implement it. Unicorn gives you a bit more of a rapid process due to the need to be able to innovate and deliver quickly, get revenue in, and grow. It drives that need to scale and capture the market at the beginning. So they're really more goal orientated, and market expansion is important. And then further down in the startup life now
Yep.
is the intense pace, constantly having to pivot or adapt to the market or feedback or any opportunities that are then thrown your way, which leads to a focus on quick and iterative or continuous development and improvement, with a
Yep.
real strong emphasis on speed and agility. And then you asked about culture, right? So I would say
Mm.
that's one of the big talking points that people always want to know or have the inside scoop on the culture of different environments. I guess it's from my experience, but I would say that the big corporates, that more formal conversations, more formal culture, emphasis on establishing norms, and that kind of professional conduct you have to have. And one thing I would say is maybe the employee development is more structured, which could is a positive. Sometimes we forget about that when we're so busy doing our work. So it's more structured. There's a career progression, and there's opportunities provided for training or enhancements. And I think in the middle level, the unicorn stage is an innovative culture. So I think that's definitely the jeans and tracksuit kind of vibe
Yeah.
to work, not the suit and tie. But yeah, that
Yep.
fun culture that encourages the creativity and risk taking, I think, is important there, as well as the a strong emphasis on collaboration and teamwork, focusing on those shared goals and success. And then the startup, very entrepreneurial culture. So you got to have that spirit, the culture that embraces change and risk and innovation, But I think because it's quite a small team size, it often leads to a very close-knit environment where every employee's contribution is highly visible and highly impactful. So I think at each of these settings, they offer distinct advantages and challenges. But my advice would really be to explore all the various environments and kind of discover the one that you think will truly empower you to achieve your best work. So
Yeah,
that's my
absolutely.
advice.
Fantastic, nice. And it's very clear that there are major differences, as you've just highlighted, across all those three different environments, right? So, how much of the experience that you've gained in the corporate world, in the unicorn world, have you been able to now leverage in the startup space? Because again, there's a similar question we always get asked is when somebody's looking to hire somebody specifically into the business and they're a startup, they say we want previous startup experience, which I understand because it does take, in my opinion, a special type of person to kind of fit into that fast-paced, agile type environment. But likewise, I also believe there's probably quite a lot that can be gleaned from a corporate, slightly more process-driven background that could then implement some of those processes in a startup. So, how much have you been able to actually utilize from your background so far?
Yeah, I think a lot, a lot. So, as you said, when a lot of recruiters say you need some startup experience, I also disagree with that. I feel like that's definitely a mindset, a personality. It's the way you show up to work and the way that you work best. But I think that I truly believe that transitioning from the corporate background to the startup has been an incredible contributor to me as a product manager. And that time has been crucial in shaping some of my skills and capabilities. And that really kickstarted my career in the startup environment. So it didn't feel like I was starting from day one. It feels like I'd done all the homework when I arrived.
Yeah,
So we just discussed like how the large corporate has all these extensive processes. So being able to navigate those in that environment and bring that structure or that attention to detail in the startup environment is invaluable, especially when you are able to implement the best aspects of that and those systems into your new role. So I think that is one of the biggest highlights for me to be able to bring to the startup world. The corporate experience has also equipped me with the solid foundation of project management, I would say. So, learning the importance of all the steps, the detailed planning, the clear timelines, the achievable milestones, and communication of that. So, I think that has also been super helpful in the startup environment. Um, as well as in the large corporate, the numerous stakeholders. So I spoke about how Standard Bank had 56,000 employees. So numerous
yeah,
stakeholders typically needed to sign off on decisions or be involved in the process. And I think collaborating across various departments in such a large organization significantly enhanced my stakeholder management skills. So I learned that cultivating strong relationships is crucial for achieving an effective outcome and ensuring a smooth execution of the task or the project. So when it comes to stakeholders, we need to think about not only who we're communicating to, but also how. So the effective stakeholder management is clear communication to be able to align the team to the company's goals and learning
yeah,
how certain individuals like to receive information is also the little secrets of
yeah.
how you get things done. So I think that's translated.
Yeah, fantastic. And that brings us really nicely onto our next question, actually. So you mentioned about the various different stakeholders in the business, and you've got both internal and external, right, to have to manage here. So we'll dive into the product side a little bit more now. So that when you look at some of the challenges that you've had to face, specifically in the fast-paced, innovative kind of environment that startups bring, one of the core things we're hearing all the time, especially in payments, is trying to manage the needs of the business itself. Then you have the merchants who are utilizing your platform. Then you also have the consumers. And when you've got those three different types of personas all having ideas, it's a lot of noise you kind of need to manage. So how do you prioritize how you advance your product with three different perspectives and directions coming in all at once?
Yeah. So balancing the competing needs of the business, the merchant, the consumer, as you said, is indeed a challenging aspect of management. So especially in the fast-paced world of today, right? Things are constantly changing. So there's no simple answer to this one, I would say, but maybe this is how I would approach it. Approach prioritizing the different needs. So, firstly, you need to align to the business's mission and goals. So, you need to have that clear understanding of the company's mission, vision, strategic goals, and this really provides a framework for making decisions that align to the long-term business objective. So, regularly engaging with key stakeholders to ensure this alignment on the priorities and understand the broad business context is important, as well as assessing how potential product features or improvements will impact revenue generation, customer acquisition, or market expansion, and then consider how the product can differentiate in the company from competitors and the strengths that that position will have in the market. Then addressing the merchant needs, I think it's important to maintain those open line of communication with merchants and gather feedback, understand their pain points deeply, and be able to identify opportunities to be able to improve there, as well as constantly monitoring merchant satisfaction. So, does your product meet their needs effectively? And then I'd say focusing on delivering features that enhance the merchant's value proposition, such as improving transaction efficiency or providing detailed analytics, ensuring security. That's also super important. And then balancing the implementation of quick win features that address these immediate needs with more strategic developments of long term value. And then you spoke about the customer too. So we need to make sure that we analyze their behavior and transactional data to identify any trends or areas of improvement. We need to implement continuous feedback loops. So if you can get surveys, if you can get feedback from the actual end user, that is super important and great to be able to capture that and use that. Prioritize features that enhance the user's experience and make it seamless, secure, and intuitive, right? They're not, consumers not there to make a payment. They're there to buy new shoes. They're not really thinking about the
Yeah.
journey. So the seamless process is really important. And then mapping out the entire customer journey and identifying any friction points or opportunities um, that can come up. And then I think so that's the three stakeholders, I guess, that we're looking at.
Yep.
But then you need to actually prioritize. So I would suggest using a prioritization framework to keep consistency across how you prioritize things. So there's the RICE model. So use the RICE scoring to be able to evaluate and prioritize features based on their reach, their impact, their confidence, and the effort required. Or there's also the effort value scoring, or some people call it value complexity. So that's assessing the value provided to users versus the complexity and the resources required to be able to implement or build that feature. Um, and then continuous reviewing and iteration on that. Um, so, implementing an agile development process with regular sprints and cycles to ensure that the priorities remain aligned along the way. And if there are any changing business or changing market conditions, we can then adjust for that. And
Yep.
then I think at the end, it's really about balancing trade-offs or having a holistic view. So take a step back, take a holistic view of the ecosystem, and recognize any connections you see between the three the three the three groups we spoke about.
Yeah.
Consider any like different scenarios, so scenario planning or potential impacts on all stakeholders, and make sure that we are informed of any trade-offs that kind of need to happen when priorities change. And then super
Okay.
important, communication, communication, communication. So transparency with stakeholders, like internal stakeholders, about this prioritization, and the rationale behind it, as well as the timelines, um, is
Yeah.
important. So balancing the needs of the business, the merchant, the consumer in the payment industry requires a very strategic and data driven approach. So,
Yeah.
aligning the business mission with active feedback from those external merchant and consumers, and then using a structured framework. I would say, is where we can ensure that product delivers value to all of those parties involved, while still driving the company towards their strategic goal.
Fantastic. And you mentioned there as well that the feedback, of course, from merchants and throughout the entire journey to fairs is critical to success. Now, there are going to be some circumstances where potentially the feedback you're receiving from a merchant doesn't necessarily align with the business mission and the vision. So, what do you tend to find happens? Do you tend to find that the business are open to adapting and changing and molding their vision around some of those pieces of feedback, or do you find that it tends to be the other way around?
I think it's a balance, right? So it depends also where you are. So as a startup, maybe you are fighting for business or you're fighting for those large merchants. And if they provide the feedback, that can kind of skew your direction. But really when you're building products and you get feedback, you can see trends. You can see certain things pop up multiple times from different merchants or different consumers, and those are the things that then you want to tackle. Those are the things that will then have large reach or large impact because of the number of merchants or consumers that it will touch. So it's really difficult to
Yeah.
balance between that. Even if a merchant comes to you with something you don't really want to build or you don't see the value, you need to go back to them. It's often you don't want them to tell you what they want. You want them to tell you their problem, and your job is to figure out how you
Yeah.
fix it. So it's not that merchants don't know what they want, but sometimes it's we know how we can solve their problem, maybe better or in a way that will benefit more than just them and will benefit more merchants and have that
Yeah.
larger reach.
Makes sense. Fantastic. Nice. And look, the other big challenge, as we well know, especially when we focus on the consumer side for open banking, is the adoption piece, right? When you're looking at this from a product perspective, you're not only kind of going up against cards, right, in the market, which has been mentally ingrained into our lifestyles for decades. Um, but it's also people's behavior of how they spend and their risk appetite sometimes, and also being able to educate them on the benefits that Pay by Bank can give to them rather than just to the merchant. Because we understand the benefits to merchants. They get lower fees, it's prevents risk and fraud, etc. But I don't see there being as much education out there for consumers. So how are you tackling that potential challenge at Vyne, specifically around trying to increase user adoption for Pay by Bank?
Like you said, it's a tough one, right? So increasing that user adoption at Vyne, we've tried maybe a multifaceted approach in trying to focus building that trust and changing the consumer's behavior, engaging with merchants and using them, leveraging technology um, that we have on hand. So I would say, firstly, building the trust with open banking. So open banking may not be new to the UK market, I think the first working group was like in 2015. So it's not new, but it's still new to consumers. So educating users on how open banking works, emphasizing the benefits, the security features, like and things like that, providing an easy to understand resource to address any common concerns are ways that you can get the consumer to feel a little bit more comfortable with the product or process. So we found that you can collaborate with well-known or respectable financial institutions or brands to be able to leverage their credibility and trust for yourself. So having the bank logos helps. Um, and educating the users before they try to make a payment, and all of a sudden their banking app opens and it uses face recognition, so it's open and they're panicking. So providing that information education up front is important to avoid any bad experience, as well as ensuring that they are okay with the process, and we don't want them to not come back and use it. Then changing the consumer's behavior, you you want to ensure that the once they actually do use it, that the process is very seamless and user friendly, minimal steps. So as you know, open banking payments is, well, with Vyne, it's 3 easy steps, very clear instructions, and it's almost like intuitive to use and reduce all friction in the process. So no entering your card details like sometimes you have to do, or manually having to go do a payments, but encouraging adoption. en- so encouraging adoption and using this. So encouraging adoption and reducing friction in the process, you can really like move your product metrics. And today, humans are all about convenience. I don't want to get up off the couch to go get my card to enter the number, or have to go and find the OTP that someone has now emailed to me to then input in the online platform. So, highlighting the convenience of open banking can also be a great way to change consumers' behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when that becomes more and more common, then people start seeing it more, I think, with the merchant acquisition side of things, and new things that are happening in the market where they're trying to now implement that into POS, like all these other things where they start to become second nature to attend to them, right? So there's lots going on in this space, which is so stuff to look forward to. And look, so let's now go back to you, right? So we love to give people the opportunity for a bit of self-reflection, because especially in startups, when do you ever find the time to do that, right? So um, if you was to look back over your journey, right, and you could tell your current self 3 things that you would have loved to have known back then, right, when you was either starting your career, whatever it might be, what would those 3 key things be?
You're right, we don't get time to reflect, and I think the opportunity to come here today was that opportunity to reflect on, I guess, where I've come and where I am now and where I want to go in the future. So reflecting on that journey, I've realized that there are crucial and important principles along the way, and I wish that maybe I knew that a bit earlier. But now I know, and I hope I'm sharing it with other people early on in their career to be able to use them. So number one of the most vital aspects would be embracing iteration and failure. I feel like a lot of people might give this answer, but I think in product development, it's inherent that it's an iterative process, and striving for perfection um, from the onset is unrealistic. And I'm perfectionist by nature, so I want everything to be perfect, in line. Um, and I've learned that it can't always be like that. So instead, it's essential to embrace a cycle of building, testing, learning, and improving. So each failure encountered along the way will then be a learning opportunity, serving as a stepping stone towards a better solution. So I'd advise my younger self to prototype early, gather feedback from users, recognize and celebrate the small failures. Um, as they offer that insights, and
Yep.
foster the culture of the continuous improvements. I think that would be number one. Number two would be data-driven decisions. These are equally as crucial. So make sure you're leveraging analytics to inform your decisions, and validate your assumptions provided. However, balancing the data and intuition is also highly important, and necessary to have that holistic view, for your decision making process. So, implementing analytical tools from the beginning to track your users' behavior or your product's performance, and then scheduling regular review sessions of this to stay informed, um, is really important to adjust your strategy along the way and make sure that you're on top of things. Um, and then I think that communication, I think I've spoken about that a few times today. So effective, effective communication and collaboration is super important for a successful product manager. So I used to be really shy and not really want to talk to too many people or present or come on a podcast, but I've learned that communication is really important and to be able to effectively work with diverse teams. So, working with engineers, designers, marketing, sales, compliance, you need to ensure that you can clearly and communicate your point, um, and be able to align with those stakeholders and keep everyone on the same page, right? Take them along with you on the journey to getting to where you need to be. So, building those strong relationships, um, with team members, for the better collaboration is important, and regularly being able to communicate the product's vision and goals, the progress, and things like that. So, I'd say those are my three things I wish I knew.
Fantastic, nice. And look, I think it's always great to self-reflect, and I think the people that start their journey in the product space, as you mentioned, a lot of people, they don't start their career in product. They kind of evolve into product, and so some of the things that they might pick up along the way. But I think having somebody that's only been in product, right, pretty much their entire career, to get those insights is going to be valuable. So appreciate you sharing those. Um, how do you see product evolving, right? Because it has been a very critical element, but we kind of moved away from what was a project management culture when you look back sort of 10 years ago or so. Now we're very product driven.
Yep.
What do you envision in the next 10 years?
Well, I think it's gonna undergo significant change. I think everywhere will undergo significant change, and it'll be driven by technology, the consumer behavior, as well as just business dynamics. I think the most recent buzzword, AI, right?
Yep.
Managers will need to use this and machine learning to make the to make those and learn from those data-driven decisions, as well as just automating tasks. We have a lot on our plate, so I think AI will help us with that. I think there'll be a strong focus on delivering personalization, so personalized user experiences, um, through advanced analytics or back to the AI, so like AI driven segmentation. I think the personalization will be something that will be super important for the future. The customer wants something that's personalized to them. And then I think ethical considerations, so data privacy is also a big one. So we'll need to shape development practices to ensure that we are compliant with this. Um, Product managers will also increasingly be focused on building ecosystems and platforms, not just products, and how those integrate seamlessly with third parties, as well as rapidly changing environment, right? So it will further reliance on agile practices and digital collaboration, to support the remote team. So it's not just the flexibility of work from home, point of view, but actually teams that are internationally located. So that will be super important. And then a big one that I think is also close to my heart would be a rise in demand for products to have a positive environmental and social impact. So I think that'll also be super important and influence product strategies and the way companies do things in the future. So yeah, if product managers can navigate the few that I just rattled off, those few
Yeah.
shifts, and leverage the emerging opportunities that these will bring, we'll be well positioned to be able to drive innovative solutions and deliver impactful products, right? To rapidly
Yeah,
changing global landscape.
absolutely. And funny you mentioned AI. We've actually got another podcast lined up in a couple of weeks' time with a CTO of a business who has been heavily involved in implementing AI across their payments ecosystem. So definitely one to watch if people are interested in AI as well. But finally, this is the People of Payments podcast after all. So we always also like to get a bit of an insight to what you believe is held for the future of the payments industry specifically. So what do you see as being the biggest trends right now, and what is ultimately going to shape that future for payments?
Yeah. So looking ahead, the future in the payment industry holds a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity. There's still a lot of challenges that we need to solve for, and really great experiences for the end users that we need to start looking into. So I think we spoke about AI, so let's continue on that. I think there's a lot of technological enhancements and emerging technologies. Um, so integrating AI and blockchain and all of these things to be able to revolutionize the payment process, make them faster, more secure, more accessible. I think that is one thing, as well as the biometrics. So open banking opens using your face. So maybe there will be enhancements in the biometric technology to offer more secure and seamless payments, not only just for the open banking account to accounts area. I think that enhancements in user experience, so I spoke also about personalization, so leveraging the data analytics that we have to develop these um, or deliver these very personalized payment experiences is exciting. Um, as well as simplified payment processes. We don't need to do all the card
Mhm.
details anymore. I think everyone's moving to really a one-click checkout or one-tap in-person payments. Um, as well as what excites me is the global expansion and financial inclusion. So cross-border
Yep.
payments, facilitating faster and more affordable cross-border transactions, and promoting global trade is exciting. I think Africa is a really great market for these type of payments or wallets, so unbanked individuals. So financial inclusion, I think, is also super exciting. Services that then are offered to these underserviced populations. Um, Fostering economic empowerment, I think, is quite important
Yeah,
for those regions. And then I
absolutely.
think, like, partnerships, forming strategic partnerships, we've seen a lot of those going around where large, payment companies are partnering with open banking payment, teams. So I think that's also exciting, like, how is it all going to come together in the future? Um,
I think that's my LinkedIn feed summed up, to be fair. Every day there's another 10, 15 different partnership announcements. I mean, it's great that, I think companies are coming together to solve a common challenge. And I think to be able to leverage the benefits from each other's products is hugely advantageous, right? For not just them, but also for the industry as a whole.
yeah.
But yeah, partnerships is a big topic right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. My LinkedIn feed's also filled with that.
Yeah.
So, like, as the payment industry evolves, I guess I'm just excited to leverage my role in product. Being a product's amazing. So leverage my role in product to be able to shape the future. So I look forward to contributing to a dynamic and transformative environment, and ultimately the opportunity to innovate and positively impact how people transact globally. Yeah, that's really what motivates me daily in my journey as a product professional in the payment sector.
Fantastic. Well, look, Jess, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and thank you for taking the time and sharing some insights. I truly think they're going to be invaluable for for many people out there in the product space looking to go on that similar journey, or even start potentially looking to move into the product arena. So thank you so much for taking the time, and I look forward to following the journey with you at Vyne and anything you do in the future.